Kia ora. My name is Pha Rae Us and welcome to Oho Ake Books. So tonight I'm going to talk about one of my least favourite topics, which is my name. Because if I had $1 for every person over the last 22 years, 23, 24, 24 years that has asked me about my name, where it's come from, I wouldn't be living in Wellington, New Zealand. I'd be living in Costa Rica in a house like that. Back to my name. My name is Pha Rae Us. Now, I was christened Paul Ronald Reed. I was Paul Ronald Reed till I was 24, 25 years old. And what happened to me at the Canaan Downs at the Gathering Festival, 1996, 1997, I went up there to work on the festival to get a free ticket. And I went up there about a week before the festival started, and I helped to build the festival, set up all the tents, set up all the structures, was part of the team up there. And this was the first gathering on the Canaan Downs, 96, 97, which is a big festival, big dance party festival over New Year's. Legendary actually, this part of the world. And getting up there, I set up the festival, met some of my mentors, my Māori mentors up there, and I was in a place where I wasn't doing drugs, but I had some on me. I had a Fat Freddy on me, which is a form of acid on me, which I didn't take, didn't need it. But I set up the festival with various people, and one of those people on the last day of the festival came up to me and saw this tattoo on my arm here, which says Vrikaha in Sanskrit, which is wolf, and my Native American totem animal is a wolf. He saw this on my arm and looked at it and went, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, it's Vrikaha. It means wolf in Sanskrit," but it was a trigger, because when he said that to me, I began to hear a voice in my head. It was a man's voice, and he said, "Pha Rae Us," over and over and over again for hours, like 18, 19 hours. The whole night I danced through the whole night, drug free. But I digress. The name Pha Rae Us was in my head like an echo all night long until the morning. I went to my friend's Triumph Herald, hopped in the back of her car, and went to sleep. Woke up in Nelson and the voices stopped. About a month later, my new year was about to start, and I heard that there was going to be a hummingbird ritual at the centre of New Zealand. So I went down there, and there's about 65 people there, and we all walked up holding hands up to the top of the centre of New Zealand, where we came together in a spiral formation until we got really, really tight, shoulder to shoulder, and we all toned together to bring in this resonance into this new paradigm, this new year. This is the people I was hanging out with at the time, very conscious, very spiritual. And at the end of the ritual, we all kind of moved apart, and 5 people came forward and told the group of us that they had shifted their levels of consciousness and therefore taking on new names because of the new beings that they had become, due to their levels of integration, levels of understanding. And I moved forward, number 6, and said, I am choosing to call myself from now on Pha Rae Us. To which I had a celebratory Pha Rae Us from everyone who was there, which was a beautiful moment, truly beautiful. I had no idea at the time what that name was and where it had come from. None whatsoever. At this point, I had let Paul Ronald Reed go. I became Pha Rae Us. Now, at the end of March, I went to the Festival of Possibilities in Nelson, which is a festival full of very spiritual, conscious, amazing people over 3 days, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And there I met Annette Lyon, and Annette Lyon and I eventually would become lovers. Annette Lyon was an enormous catalyst for me in so many ways for an incredible, powerful, conscious awakening. And part of that conscious awakening was me remembering that name, Pha Rae Us, and where it had come from. Now, I have blogged about this many times, but here I'm going to share it with you now in this video. What happened when me and Annette went to Possibilities Crystal Shop, which is now moved from where it used to be. We walked into the shop together, and I went over to the pendulum area, took a pendulum in my hand, asked which way is yes, which way is no, and then I blacked out. I fainted on the spot. Hit the floor of the shop, completely out, gone. I just fainted. But when I hit the ground, my body was lying on the floor, I had a vision. Very strong, very clear vision. I was flying. I was flying over a causeway, a big paved causeway. And that causeway was made of pure gold. And the stones, the slabs in this causeway were so well joined together, I couldn't see the joins where the slabs met, but I knew that they were individual stones. Now, either side of that causeway were enormous pyramids made of different minerals and crystals. Enormous pyramids you could find in Giza in Egypt. In the middle of the causeway, at the very end of it, was a stepped ziggurat made of amethyst. I flew over the ziggurat and around it. Then inside of it was more steps going down to a courtyard, an enormous courtyard. In the middle of that courtyard were hundreds of people all standing around in a circle, making various tones, various sounds, tones, harmonics. And there's a huge blue light firing up from the middle of this group of people up into space. I flew around the ziggurat and came back towards two people walking towards the ziggurat. The woman on the left would have been between 7 to 9 feet tall, African. Her hair was braided back, tight into a bunch. She wore a sleeveless cloak with a snake-like bracelet around her arm, her muscly, enormous arm. On this arm, her other arm was free of any jewellery. She had her hands behind her back, and she had a cape behind her that would follow a trail behind her. And the cape trail had a brown trimming around it, like a brown fat trim around it. On the back of her cape, there was a line, a half circle and a line, and then a smaller line, a half circle and a line. Next to her, on the right hand side, was a man that was considerably shorter than she was. He would have been 5'8" at the most. He had long grey hair, back in a ponytail, with a hood and a sleeved cape. And he was walking next to her and talking to her in a language that I could understand, but it wasn't English. He was talking about harmonics, using harmonics to open up dimensional doorways, portals, to heal the human body, and to move large objects. And then I heard someone say, Pha Rae Us. And that man turned around, and I saw my own face. I woke up in the shop with a net over me, with the shopkeeper asking me if I was okay. I was in shock, literally in shock. I sat up, I was trembling from what I'd just seen. I got up, I walked out of the store, went to a bench which is now still there. The bench is still there in Nelson. And the shop, I believe, is a Chinese takeaway food shop. I think it might be now, but it used to be Possibilities. I went down, I sat on that bench. I asked Annette and the shopkeeper for a bit of space because I was still in shock. They left me to it. I was sitting there trembling. I quieted my mind down. I said to my spirit guides, what did I just see? And I heard a voice, a male's voice. It was quite clear. He said, Atlantis. And that was my first introduction to that lifetime. And the name, Pha Rae Us, is the name of that person, that being, that body that my soul was incarnate into at that time. Pha Rae Us was a knowledgeable, what we call today a scientist, but back then I was told he was a high priest of harmonics, a very knowledgeable character with a great knowledge of harmonics. And his name was Pha Rae Us. So I took on this name, and then eventually, as I toured through Australia with a net and without a net, I began to remember this lifetime, and I've blogged about this. I'll talk about this another time. That knowledge that I had from that lifetime became very present in my life as I travelled around Australia. I had some very interesting experiences at Harvey Bay, in the Dandenong Forest near Melbourne, and at Redgate Beach, where I remembered that knowledge and utilised it. And the last experience, as I blogged about at Redgate Beach, scared the bejesus out of me, and I stopped using that knowledge because I was way out of my depth. But the name, Pha Rae Us, I've kept it. It's who I am. But people call me Pha because Pha is easier. Pha Rae Us is quite hard for most people to pronounce. So Pha works just fine for me. And that's my story. And you can leave me a donation of $1 and I'll really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Aotearoa. See you next time.